Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me again. Just want to say again, many thanks to all the people that have sent me lovely words and messages with regards to all my YouTubes and going forward in my life and talking about my past experiences. I'm wearing my glasses because I've made a few notes, and one of the reasons why I've made a few notes is because when I did my last YouTube last week, the one that I uploaded, I missed some important information, and I've just made some brief notes just as a reminder. We talked about my abuse and moving into the house that we moved into. So I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit, so I do apologise for backtracking and forgetting some important information. So as I said last week, just a pre-warning that some of the content that I'm going to be sharing with you again this week is going to be a bit sensitive. I am trying so hard not to go into really delicate stuff. I should just touch on it as little as I possibly can, but sometimes, because I'm talking from my heart, sometimes I do slip up and say things I shouldn't, and I do apologise for that. So I'm going to start again from last week's talk with just a few updates, but not everything, because I think last week I did cover most things about, when my dad was killed, we moved into another house. We kind of downgraded into a very small 3 up, 3 down that was really old-fashioned. But the bit I missed out was when we moved into this house after my father's death. I would be 5 years old. That's the time when my father was killed. But when we moved into this new house, I remember my uncle, my dad's brother, came to live with us. I'd completely forgotten about that. And he came to live with us temporarily. I'm assuming it was because my mother needed a lot of support with moving. He obviously moved in with us just to support my mum. And as I say, it was my dad's brother, who I used to look up to a lot because he used to play with us a lot when we was little and have loads of fun with us. Little did I know that he was grooming me. So he came to stay with us, and I remember he slept in the living room, and his bed was under the living room window. I don't know if it was a single bed, a double bed, it might have been a bed settee. I honestly don't really know, but I do remember certain things about him. And I remember this particular night, it was dark outside, and whether it was in the middle of the night, whether it was evening, I'm not sure, because no one was around. There was no members of my family around. My mum wasn't around. I'm assuming she was in bed. Somehow I'd been given permission to sleep in the same bed as him, because I remember laying in the bed with him. And my uncle asked me if I'd put my hand on his private parts. Bear in mind, I'm only 5, 6 years old, something like that. And I did what he asked me to do. But then he asked me to put my mouth on his private parts. I might have only been 5 or 6 years old, but something told me not to. So I didn't put my mouth on him. And when I refused, he immediately got up out of his bed. He went down the backyard to the toilet, and I honestly don't remember what happened after that. Whether I slept in his bed, whether he put me to my bed, I've got no idea. sometime later, I'm assuming he moved out. I don't know how long afterwards. I honestly can't remember at what point he moved out, but he moved out. I never ever mentioned it to anyone, because when you're little you don't, do you? Sometime later, as I mentioned, excuse me, sometime at some point later, my mum, as I said last week, my mum started to drink. And because she was drinking, she always slept heavy, and that's when my stepfather, who I mentioned in last week's YouTube, started to remove me from my bed, and he would abuse me in the living room. And I prayed to God that the stairs door would open and my mum would come in and catch him doing what he was doing and rescue me, because somewhere in my heart I knew, because obviously it was a few years later, I must have been 8 or 9. So 2 or 3 years later, that's when my stepfather started to abuse me again. While this is happening, my mother went on to having 2 children by this man. I'm not sure if the children came along before the abuse or while I was being abused, but she, I ended up having 2 more sisters who I dearly, dearly loved. I remember one night my stepfather, if you could call him that, was violently round with my mum. There was a lot of violent rows with my mother. Sometimes they were very, very scary, because he was very controlling and very domineering, and in every respect very, very strict. They was having a violent row in the house where there was a struggle took place. There was fighting with each other, and I remember I was there, my brothers were there. Where my sister was, I wasn't sure. I think, like I say, I think she must have moved out. And at one point, the fight became so violent, my mother asked me, shouted to me, go in the kitchen and get a knife out of the kitchen drawer, which was so scary. I mean, 8 or 9 years old and you've got to go and get a knife out of the drawer. I don't know if it was a survival thing in my mum, or it's one of the worst experiences that a child could experience. Seeing that sort of thing and hearing that sort of thing. My instincts told me, no, don't go and get the knife. I remember running out of the house and calling 999 with my brothers. And the police decided to come out, and we waited till the police came out. And I remember walking down the street with the police, and was asking me lots of questions about what happened. Obviously I was a very scared child, and he asked me then to walk in front of him, and I walked in the house. I can't remember really what happened, but I think that they took him away, maybe arrested him or something like that. And sometime later, I don't know how long afterwards, sometime later I must have gone to the park with my sister. And at some point, although I don't really remember, because I do believe my sister had left home, but obviously she came back. I think she lived a couple of streets away from us in a flat, and I must have gone to the park with her, and I must have told her something about what had happened to me and my stepfather, what he'd done to me, because sometime later I remember my mum questioning me about it, and one of the things I'm going to tell you now is something that no parent should ever do. No parent, guardian, whatsoever should do what I'm about to tell you, because it can really have a really devastating impact on any child. My mum had obviously been informed about the sexual abuse, and somehow she must have arranged for him to arrive at our house, because I remember I was in the front room, the best room, the room that was normally locked up, that my mum only went into when she entertained. And I remember sitting on the fire hearth. We had this old-fashioned tiled fire hearth. It's all very nice and highly polished, and you know, my mum kept it so nice, and all these little ornaments was all scattered around, but there was a bit on the end where there was nothing, and I remember sitting my bottom there. I hadn't got any idea why I was there. That I don't really remember, but I remember my mum sitting under the window, and I remember my stepfather walking in, and he stood in the doorway of the living room, and my mother told him or asked him or mentioned words to the effect of, "What have you been doing to my daughter?" My God. I cannot put into words how that made me feel. I just literally buried my head in my lap because I was so embarrassed. I felt so ashamed. He instantly denied it, and asked me why I was telling lies. This absolutely devastated me because I felt like I was being telling stories. You know, I was being dishonest. I was so hurt, really, really hurt from my mother saying them sort of things in front of me and talking about it to him in front of me. I felt ashamed, I felt dirty, I felt bad. I can't really describe how I felt, but it's one of the worst things any parent could ever do to their child. You know, when a child comes to you, or you find out that your child's been abused, you know, it's to be between you two, and if you're going to do anything about it, please always keep the person that's abused you away from the situation, always, because that is very, very traumatic and damaging, as it was for me, and I'm sure it's been for many other people. This video is only a short one this week. I just wanted to really update my last one because I made a few errors in the last one. Talking about hay bales, and I said it the wrong way round. You know, it just goes to show that I'm just normal, make mistakes like the next person. I will make errors, I will say things that I shouldn't say, and I do apologise, but at the end of the day, I'm just normal like the next person. There's so much more to share with you, but I think I'll be talking next week about my sister a little bit more and the reasons why she moved out. I probably will be talking about my mother's attempted suicide, you know, in front of myself. And I'll be talking about various other things to do with how difficult life was as a young girl between the ages of 5 to about 12 years old. Again, please don't suffer in silence. Please get help. Please try and talk to someone. It's very important that you try and talk, if you can, to someone that you can trust. If you can't trust any family member, there are organisations that you can go to if you really need to talk to someone about it. You know, probably a stranger, you know, as in somebody professional. That's what I mean by a stranger. Because talking is really, really helpful. It helps to get it out, and it's surprising how much better you feel once you've started to open up about it. I know it's painful. It's, you know, a lot of the time when you're actually talking to someone, it's not the then when you're actually talking, sometimes it can impact on you afterwards when you've opened up your heart and soul to someone. Reading books is very helpful, positive books as well. Being around healthy people helps. The last thing you want is to be around negativity. You know, you don't want to be around people that's going to make you feel bad and tell you to pull your socks up. Life isn't like that. You know, once you've been through some trauma of domestic violence or sexual abuse or anything, you know, that's affected you in your childhood, you need to be able to talk to someone that you can completely trust, someone that can understand and listen to you and allow you to, you know, share this information that's extremely delicate. But as I've said in every single YouTube I've done up to now, please feel free to message me on million.ward@outlook.com anytime, and I will give you information. Nobody's going to know about it if you email me, you know, direct. My email's always underneath the video anyway, so I'll always point you in the right direction the best way I can and give you as much support going forward as possible. Again, thank you so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, share if you want to. I really, really appreciate all the support I'm getting off everyone. And without your help, we're never going to get people out there moving forward in their life. By sharing your story and being honest and open and getting some help will help other people eventually. Thank you so, so much for listening. I look forward to sharing another part of my story with you next week. Thank you very much. Take care and bye-bye.